Good afternoon or good evening, whenever or wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me for the next hour to talk about how great a power play quarterback Duncan Keith is, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Feeling like $1 million Rooskies. How you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good today. Didn't do so well last night. I went to go see the Batman, so I didn't want to play any players in the Edmonton Calgary game, so I had all early players. Game stacked Florida Buffalo. I got Florida right. That counts for something, I think. Maybe not in money one, but maybe something. Yeah, that game stack didn't get there for me. How'd you do?
I was on the verge of a very good night. I needed that to fully empty that hat. So I used Colorado. I didn't use the top line. I used the second line. Kadri got 2 assists. He was fine. I used Devin Tays, who had a block bonus and a goal. He was fine, but it wasn't Makar or Tays, or Makar or McKinnon, who both went nuts. But then I had, Calgary power play without Wasmus, so that was fine. That Gaudreau breakaway really helped me, and if Toffoli got that empty net hat, he was open for it, they just missed. I probably would have 5x, but we cashed. We move on to tomorrow, or today is tomorrow. Tomorrow's today. Big slate. We gotta, we're used to the past few weeks. We've been doing these 6-7 games. We got 11 games in 50 minutes, so I'm gonna have to not go off on tangents today.
Yeah, especially with all the Detroit news that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. Yeah, I didn't do so well last night. I did see some people in the chat have a pretty good night. I think it was Ricky finished third in the $15 last night, if I'm not mistaken. And Wolf Girl, she just keeps crushing it. It's every other day she's posting a screenshot from a winner take all. She's just crushing those WTAs. So congrats to Wolf Girl. Congrats to Ricky. Yeah, big slate ahead of us here tonight. 11 games, 22 teams, lots of line changes we're going to have to talk about. I see a super chat already from Clayton, a $10 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Clayton. That is generous of you. It says, tough slate. Thanks in advance for your help. I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into it. Large slates are tough to navigate. You have 22 teams. You have 18 players per team. There's just a lot to take in. Especially if you're somebody like you that might only be playing a couple lineups, there are a lot of really tough cuts to make. I'm 20 maxing and there's still a lot of tough cuts to make. So just kind of the nature of the beast here. Before we get too much further, just want to say thank you to Yahoo Fantasy for sponsoring this show. They are our sponsor. They've been our sponsor this entire season. They have been a great sponsor for us. And for anybody that is a first-time DFS player over on Yahoo, we have some giveaways through them. We'll talk about a little bit later in the show. And if the chat could, please throw us that thumbs up if you haven't. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscription button. The subscriptions really help grow this channel, keep this channel growing on a regular basis. The march to 420,000 subscribers keeps going. Click the bell to get alerts whenever we do go live, because we have lots of shows going on all day long.
If we get to 420K, we're going to be multi-billionaires. But also, how did you see that animation from the super chat on the screen?
Yeah.
Has that been there? I just missed it.
That's just today. That's a Tyler Zander special. Thank you very much to producer Tyler. He always makes us look good, making us look a little bit more professional here on this show. Free premium tools and data up on the site today. We have them almost every day. Today is no exception. We have NBA player rankings, our NHL player projections, and our PGA golfer rankings all up on the site. So whether NBA or NHL tonight or PGA later this week, lots up on the site for everybody to go read. My personal Power Plays article up on the site just published for anybody to read. Anybody that's playing some NHL tonight, go check that out at awesemo.com. We also have a giveaway through our podcast. Just head on over to the Awesemo podcast channel. Leave a 5-star review with your Twitter handle or Awesemo username. You'll be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And finally, we've mentioned this for the last week. This channel is still growing. It seems like they're doing fairly well over there. We have a new betting show. It's called Locks Before Lock. It's an NBA prop betting show, 30 minutes during the week before the deeper dive every day. So head on over to the Oddsshopper YouTube channel. for the best edges available in NBA player props straight from our experts. All right, Josh, we got a lot of games to get to. Let's just jump right into these. Colorado, 3.7 implied goal total going into New Jersey. The Devils have a 2.7 implied goal total. Colorado is on a back-to-back. You talked about how they played last night. I noticed the top line, because it was a tight game. They played over 20 minutes last night, most of them. They're fairly young guys, probably should still be able to put it together on a back-to-back, but a road back-to-back is one of the toughest situations for any team. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's still a very big total, and New Jersey has had some awful goaltending issues basically for like 2 months now. What do you think about this one here, Josh?
Yeah, Nico Hischier may not play. Like Zacha was centering the second line. That would be a big loss on both ends of the ice for the Devils. Like, I don't know. Like, this is a tough slate. You're going to have to make a lot of tough cuts. But if Hischier's out, I don't know how you don't consider, the Avs here. I know it's back-to-back on the road, but 3.7 total. They're coming from, like the Islanders to the Devils. It's a short drive. I mean, with traffic, it's like 9 hours. But, like, it's a short drive. Devils take a fair bit of penalties. It's not Blackwood still. It's Nico Dawes, who's kind of settled in, but he's still not Mackenzie Blackwood. So I don't know if I'll get to the Avs in 1-3. Like, I haven't built my lineups yet because I wanted to talk through this all 11 games. But like the price on the Avs top line really isn't prohibitive compared to like there's again like pricing on DraftKings is Charmin soft. On FanDuel, they're probably like 38,000. You have to play like players who aren't playing just to get them in. You know what I mean? But like on DraftKings, I think you have to consider Colorado 1 here. Colorado 2 is even cheaper than they were yesterday. I know Nishushkin's price has come up, but Kadri and Landeskog have went down a couple hundred. So I'm fine with either of the top 6 Colorado lines. I think at their ownership, that second line coming in at 4.5% on a 11-game slate like is fine. Double digits on the Colorado top line will probably keep me off them in 1-3, but in 20 to 150 max, I would definitely have some. On the Devil side, I just, I have to wait and see because Hischier and Bratt have really good numbers together. But if Hischier is out, like Zacha and Bratt probably have good numbers together, but not when Zacha's a center. Like I don't know if he's a top 6 center. He's better suited on the wing. So like maybe I'll get to some of that top line. It's just not a good matchup for the Devils. It is a 2.7 total though. I would imagine if there's clarity on Hischier, if he's out, I would imagine that total may get, people are going to start betting the under on the team total, but I don't know, like maybe have some of that top line to spot like 2.7 total. You don't really want to ignore the Devils here, but like, I don't find something that I want a full stack.
Yeah. Here's where I'm at is that top line, the Hughes line, really like they've been fine. They're generating a lot, but they're also giving up a lot in return. Like they're kind of, giving up as many scoring chances nearly as they're generating. So I'm just kind of tempted to go right back to Colorado too. Like you mentioned, reasonable price has come down a bit. Not a massive sample between them, but Landeskog and Nichushkin have been absolutely just lights out together this year whenever they played together. Coming in with reasonable ownership, see them, around 4 or 5% in our lineup builder. Like, they're going to get that Hughes matchup, like I said, and they're going to get, they trade scoring chances. So yeah, I do like going right back to Colorado 2 here again. People want to play Colorado 1. Like, we saw what Nathan McKinnon can do last night. I'm not going to complain against that. Like he can actually tear apart any team. I just think the way I'm building today will probably be some more Colorado 2. I think I'm out on New Jersey. Like, top line really hasn't been great. Like you said, the second line, there might be some problems with Hischier. And like with so many games on the slate, I'm not sure I'm going to run out, to play a lineup with Nico Hischier in it to try to get him at reasonably low ownership. I'd rather just go to some other place. So probably out on Devils forwards here. On the blue line, Taves' price has come up. I think Jonas Siegenthaler on DK at least makes a decent punt. If you want to get weird in your 20 max or 150s or something like that, I think Dougie Hamilton is fine in this situation because he is a wonderful offensive defenseman. kind of like a decent pivot away from what could be a Chalky or Roman Josi or something like that, I'm not running out to play him. I think it's just really Siegenthaler and then correlating on Colorado. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm either correlating Makar or one offering Tays, and I don't even know if I'm going to get to any Devils defensemen. Like Siegenthaler is fine at 3,100. I'd probably play him more like when he was like 2,800, 2,700, just because despite that game where he scored, like relying on him hitting the score sheet is not a great idea.
Yeah, no issues there. Just don't mind a cheap guy on the top here. All right, let's get to this next one. Vegas 3.4 implied goal total. They're going into Philly. The Flyers have a 2.6 implied goal total. I think one note here was that Chandler Stevenson jumped to the top line with Vegas in their last game. It's been a rotating cast alongside Jack Eichel pretty much ever since he got there, due to injuries and underperformance. It's going to be at least Pacioretty and Jack Eichel on the top line. We're fairly certain of that. Philly's changed up their lines a little bit. We talked about them in on the last show. Derek Brassard, Cam Atkinson, Joel Farabee, second line. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me who's up on the Vegas top line, if it's Roy or Stevenson. I kind of preferred Roy up there. We'll have to wait and see how they warm up. Like it's kind of like the Cirelli situation from a week ago. He was yo-yoing back and forth, but like I'm fine with leaving off the third wheel here and going Eichel, Pacioretty, Theodore, something like that. The Flyers are an improved team since AV left defensively, but they still have issues on the penalty kill, and I just do not like these lines 5-on-5. Like I don't know what Mike Yo's doing. He's trying. I know what he's doing. It's just not good for DFS, and it's not really good for 5-on-5. But like maybe I don't know what he's doing. So like yeah, I'm in on Vegas 1. If you want to leave off the third wheel, that's fine. I'm in on Vegas 2 again. They're coming in under 5%. They just keep running people over. It doesn't really matter what matchup they get on the Flyers here tonight. It's going to be favorable for them. Marchessault's on that top power play. Carlson, as long as he's under 4K, is fine. Riley Smith, 41. Like, they're so cheap. Their prices really aren't going anywhere. Marchessault was in the mid-7s at points this year, so they're underpriced. They're underowned. I'm usually off Vegas too because they're overpriced and overowned. Now they're underpriced and underowned, so I'm in on them. I also like Vegas 1. On the Flyer side, like, there's nothing I want to full stack here. The power play correlation sucks. The centers suck. So, like, I probably just look elsewhere tonight, maybe like a one-off Joel Farabee or one-off Cam Atkinson. But other than that, like, I don't think there's anything that I want to full stack.
Yeah, on the Flyers, the top line hasn't had a sample together, but Drew and Konechny have played a fair bit without Sean Couturier, like with various centers. 46% shot share, 45% of the scoring chances. They just haven't been good without Sean Couturier. And then you look at the second line. The second line actually does have a decent sample together. They're even worse. 46% shot share, 41% of the scoring chances. Like, these line combinations just haven't been good. And I can't imagine the third line is going to be a whole lot better. So I'm with you. Vegas top line, like, Pacioretty and Eichel have actually played fairly well together. They haven't had those monster games yet that we're kind of waiting for, but they're generating a lot. 64 shot attempts generated per 60 minutes, 32 scoring chances per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. Like, those are pretty good numbers. So, like, I think you're fine to go to Vegas 1, but it's Vegas 2 that I wrote up in the Power Plays article. I agree with you. Their price, very, very reasonable. They've actually even started to score, which has been the problem all season, is their shooting percentage was pitiful, but it's actually up, between 9 and 10%. And there's not, like, between 9 and 10% is not very high. That's about league average. And they're scoring over 4 goals per 60 minutes. That's how many shots they're generating. Yeah. I'm going right to Vegas 2. They're one of my favorite fillers on the slate, coming in with decent ownership, good numbers, good matchup, all that. So Vegas 2 for me. Nothing for me from the Flyers side. If I were to go anywhere, it would be to the top line with Giroux, Lawton, and Konechny. But like I said, just not a great sample. I think I'd rather look elsewhere for a cheaper top line stack. On the blue line, I don't know what's going on with Shea Theodore. Like, he keeps projecting well for me because I have, prior seasons in my projections, but like it's been a tough season. I guess 5,400 is a fine price over on DraftKings. There's no one on the Flyer side I want to play from their blue line.
I'm also fine with paying up for Pietrangelo. I think he'll be like fairly low owned tonight because of Yossi, and maybe people want to play Dougie or something like that, and they shy away from Pietrangelo because Theodore's on the top. Like, I don't know. I think he's fine one off. Nick Hague, if you want to go down and punt, is also fine. On the Flyer side, no.
Like, Justin Braun's one of those guys like Siegenthaler. Like, if he was like 2,900, I would play Braun.
Play Sanheim if he was in the low threes, but 3,900, like, no, thank you.
They're getting that Anaheim defense pricing going on here
for no reason. Like, DraftKings they like randomly price up bad defensemen and just randomly just tank prices for good lines. I don't know what's going on.
I have no idea what's going on either, but I'm just here to play the game. Let's get to the next one. Florida 3.3 implied goal total. They're going into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh also has a 3.3 implied goal total. Florida played last night. They beat the brains out of the Sabres like 6-1, I think it was. The big news, obviously, was Anton Lundell getting injured, left the game, did not come back, threw their lines into complete disarray. Like, I don't think there's – if Lundell were to be out, I don't think there's any line combination right now that you can say that's the line that's going to play. Like, I don't think they're just going to leave the top six together and throw like Eetu Luostarinen on the third line or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're going to see some changes coming about. So we just don't know his status at this point. We'll see what happens with Lundell. Florida was low owned last night. They're going to be low owned again here tonight. What do you think here?
If I had to take an educated guess, if Lundell's out, I think Reinhart moves to the third line center. You see Marchment move back down to the third line, and you see Maxime Mammon up on that top line.
Yeah, that feels like a good bet.
But again, like, no one's going to play Florida tonight. And it's actually not the worst matchup. It is a back-to-back on the road, but like, if no one's going to play them, I think in MME, if you're 20 maxing, just getting one of 20, Florida 2 or Florida 1, assuming they're together, you're going to be way over the field. Like, I've talked about it. Pittsburgh 1, their defensive numbers have not been great the past 6 weeks. They've given up chances. Not a huge believer in Yari. Granted, like, I do have interest in playing Yari in GPP just because Florida is back-to-back on the road and they are a high shot volume team. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of interested in, Barkov. I'm kind of interested in Florida 2, assuming they're together. That top line is probably going to get Barkov, and that's fine. Like, they haven't been great. Like, that second line, not overwhelmingly good defensively, not terrible. They're probably league average-ish. I think that second line could do some damage against the league average line. So I'm higher on Florida than most. I think we both usually are. But I think the ownership is what's really driving here because it's a massive slate, and I normally avoid back-to-back on the roads. But, like, if no one's going to play them, I'm going to get over the field. Now, you do need to wait on lines, and maybe people are in the same boat and they want to wait just to make sure. But I don't think they're going to touch line 2. And if they're together, I'll probably play them. On the Pittsburgh side, I'm fine with Pittsburgh 1. Their ownership is fairly reasonable. They're fully correlated. It's back-to-back on the road. I mean, Spencer Knight looked good last night, but the Sabres also looked bad. Bobrovsky, doesn't really scare me too much. Florida's a pretty high event team, so I am in on Pitt 1. I think if you're MMing, it makes sense to have both sides of this game, though.
Yeah. Florida, I'm going to touch on real quick. It's just pure ownership. Back-to-back on the road going into Pittsburgh, obviously not ideal. But if you look at the road teams here tonight, like, we just had a couple high totals with Colorado and Vegas. They're higher than Seattle, higher than Arizona, higher than Ottawa, higher than Dallas, higher than the Rangers, higher than Anaheim, higher than Washington. Like, they're expecting some goals here from Florida, even in this matchup. And you talked about how Pittsburgh, their top line defense has slid. Their last 100 minutes together, 2.6 expected goals against per 60 minutes. League median's about 2.4, give or take. So they're worse than right now. That's not very good. So I do like. I'm with you on Florida too. I think I would probably just get some sort of Florida power play stack going because I think I would. If I'm playing Florida, I want to get Barkov in.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing here tonight. It was the same thing last night. Is like nobody's playing Barkov anymore because of where he's priced. And let's be fair here, he's priced very, very highly. But that prohibitive pricing is what's keeping his ownership to nothing. Like we have 0.5% ownership on the top two lines combined. No one is playing them. Like you said, if you're 20 max and 150 max, and you don't need that many lineups to be way over the field. So I think you need to at least consider some Florida here tonight. Probably some sort of power play stack is where I would focus, but just at least consider them on the Pittsburgh side. I agree with you. Pittsburgh won. Perfectly fine here, coming with good leverage. If people want to come in over the field on them and play, 5 out of 20 of Pittsburgh won or 6 out of 20, what have you, that's perfectly fine. Also brought up Pittsburgh 3 in my power plays article this morning. Like Jeff Carter and Evan Rodriguez had struggled for a while together, but it looks like they've really turned their play around like over the last few weeks. 53% shot share, 54% of the scoring chances. That's a pretty big turnaround. They were below average line for a while. And Jeff Carter's coming in super cheap. Evan Rodriguez coming in with a high shot volume of late, at least on a per 60-minute rate. So like if you want to dip all the way down, just like a two-man Carter Rodriguez or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine. So maybe some Pittsburgh 1. I think a two-man from Pittsburgh 3 is fine. Maybe some Florida power play, I think, is what really interests me in this game. On the blue line, our old buddy, Radko Gudas, his price is very reasonable. I believe it was $2,700. I have no problem paying that. Even Mackenzie Weegar, $5,500, I think is definitely in play. I would probably hold back on playing $7,300 Aaron Ekblad on the road. What do you think?
Yeah, and Forsling's price dropped $600 from yesterday on DraftKings, so $3,100 is reasonable for him as well. On the Pittsburgh side, it's always just Letang or next game. You know what I mean? Like they just kind of like, I guess Dumoulin's fine. Like if you're like a correlation junkie and you need the guy, like Dumoulin's probably the guy, but like I'm probably just playing Letang or nobody.
Yeah. Don't mind Dumoulin. He's only 3,200, gets lots of minutes, could get some blocks, especially against a team like Florida, et cetera, et cetera. Don't mind that at all. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. Of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, then you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus NHL packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and can be easily added on to any of these packages at checkout, but it is not included in our base package. However, it is a very valuable addition to your DFS arsenal for anyone looking to multi-enter contests. So stop guessing, start winning, join Awesemo Plus today. All right, let's get to this next game. Seattle, 2.3 implied goal total going into Toronto. The Leafs have a 4.1 implied goal total. The Leafs also a team coming off a back-to-back. They're at home. It makes it a little bit easier. Funny enough, I was looking up goaltending. Because we pick on Seattle goaltending a fair bit. Their 5-on-5 goaltending has actually gotten better over the last 6 weeks. They're about the middle of the league. Guess who's last?
The Leafs.
Oh, yeah, dead last in the league over the last 6 weeks of 5-on-5 goaltending. Toronto's goaltending has struggled flat out. It's the Seattle Kraken, though. We talk about over and over how much they struggle to generate offense, and they really do. What do you think about this one, Josh?
Like, I don't want to play the Seattle Kraken tonight. Like, that top line's so cheap, and they're fully correlated to, like, $7,900 for McCann Eberle. They're, like, two of their only good offensive players going into the Leafs team who are on a back-to-back. They got Jack Campbell, who's been awful since Christmas. Like, maybe I'm getting to some Seattle 1 here in 20 max. Other than that, on the Seattle side, like maybe, some Gord Appleton. Like that line's been good, and they're going to get bottom 6 matchups from the Leafs. like I'm considering Seattle on an 11-game slate on the road in Toronto. Like it's giving me a migraine, but like I think you have to. Like the Leafs have, like, okay, the Leafs are scoring goals, great, but they're giving up goals too. So 2.5 total for the Seattle on the road is like a fairly sizable total for them. Kind of like that top line, at least McCann, Eberle, and I don't mind Gord, Appleton. Like Gord's, been playing some minutes. He's 2,800. He's on the second power play. He penalty kills, so I don't mind that as a punt. On the Leaf side, like Leafs 1 is always in play. They're always in play. It's just a matter if you want to play them. Like it's either full stack or nothing for me, I think. Like everyone on that line has 20 plus goals this season. They're starting to be one of those lines where you can't leave them off anymore. It's like the old Boston one. If you leave Martian off, he gets a hat trick. You leave Pasternak off, he gets a hat trick. You leave Bunting off last night, he had a 2-point game. You leave Marner off, he has a 5-point game. You know what I mean? Prices be damned. I think you got a full stack here. And if you full stack in a 4 total, you're going to get the 3 lower. You want to go to that second line, fine. I just, William Nylander has actually been really bad lately, and his minutes have been down. So I think I'm just top line for the Leafs here tonight. You want a power play stack? Sure, that's fine. Like the Kraken's penalty kill is a mess. The goaltending's a mess on the penalty kill. So if you want a power play stack, fine. But for me, I'm Leafs 1. And in 20 max, I'll consider the Leafs top line and maybe some Gord Appleton.
The one where I'm struggling with playing Seattle here, like I get how, they are reasonably priced. It's just, why not go to, like, where I'm struggling is like, why not go to like New Jersey 1 or Philly 1 or something like that? Like why go play McCann and Eberle? But you're right. They are their 2 best players, offensive players, have been all season. If they're going to score, stands to reason they're at least somehow going to be involved. So I'm with you. I'm going to be at least considering them, but I'll be honest, I don't think I'll be getting to them. There are other places with similar ownership and projections that I like as much. The thing with Toronto 1 is their offense has started to slow down a bit. They're generating fewer shots, fewer expected goals than they were earlier in the season, but the defense is picking up. Their expected goals against over the last month is under 2. Like they're really, really shutting things down defensively. So we're really at the mercy of Jack Campbell just completely sucking. Like that kind of feels bad. That's just not how I'm going to stack here tonight. So I think on the Toronto side, I think if I'm stacking the Leafs, it's power play stack. Seattle's had goaltending issues on the penalty kill basically all season, and even as the goaltending has improved, the penalty kill issues have persisted. So I would stick with some sort of Toronto power play stack. Matthews Marner plus Tavares, Matthews Marner plus Riley. Just leave Bunting there, even though he's not on the top power play, and add Riley or something like that. I think that's perfectly fine. So some sort of Toronto power play stack is where I'm focusing. I don't mind Seattle 1. 2.5, like their total has come up through the day. McCann and Eberle reasonably cheap. I think there are other spots I'd rather get to. On the blue line, nothing. I mean, like I think Timothy Liljegren top pair, whether on DK or on FanDuel as a super cheap defenseman, I think is fine. Correlating with Morgan Riley, if your power play stack's fine. Other than that, there's not a defenseman I want here, I don't think.
Me either.
Okay. All right. Let's just get to the next game then. Don't really need to dig into that. Arizona, 2.5 implied goal total. Going into Detroit, the Red Wings have a 3.2 implied goal total. The big news here, Detroit's welcoming back Jakub Vrana. He had a shoulder surgery earlier in the season. I could sit here and probably spend the rest of the show just talking about how much I enjoy watching Jakub Vrana play hockey. Here's the thing to know about it. I mean, 2,500 on DraftKings is just a mispricing. Like, let's just get that out of the way. Like, he's not a $2,500 player. He's probably somewhere in the 5K range when he's going. So, like, pretty big savings here. Vrana is arguably, I don't know, top 5 finisher in hockey, top 5, top 10. And I mean that. Like, and I mean, there's a difference between a finisher and a goal scorer, right? Like, Leon Draisaitl is a goal scorer. He also plays 23 minutes a night or whatever, including top power play minutes. Like Vrana's just not going to play heavy minutes. He's not going to get a feature role. He just never has. But if you look at his shooting percentage for his career at 5-on-5, it's consistently amongst the best in the league. It doesn't matter where he's played. Vrana is just flat out one of the best finishers in hockey, but it is his first game of the season. Like, that's pretty huge. Like, he's been out this entire season with a shoulder injury. He's going to be on the second line, it looks like, with Tyler Bertuzzi and Pius Suter, with the top line of Fabry, Larkin, and Lucas Raymond. But Jeff Blashill did say that there may be some lineup changes coming at warmups because he's not set with his lineup just yet. Wouldn't be an 11-game slate without Jeff Blashill drop kicking you in the face. What do you got in this one here, Josh?
Yeah, what else is new? The NHL flexed Detroit to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, because when all the 7 p.m. games are intermission, you really just want to flip to the Red Wings Coyotes game. Anyway, assuming Fabry, Larkin, Raymond is the line, I'm fine, perfectly fine with that. I wish it was Bertuzzi instead of Fabry so we could get old Detroit 1. But that top line is under 14K on DraftKings. They're fully correlated. Arizona has one of the worst penalty kills in hockey. So I'm in on Detroit 1. We just got a new ownership run. We have Vrana coming in, projected at 20%. So I don't know. Like, yeah, he's been priced and it's fine. He's not on the top power play unit. He's probably going to play like 14 minutes tonight, assuming these are the lines. So I don't know. I'm into power play stacking the wings tonight. You want to go to that top line plus Bertuzzi. You want to go to top line plus Cedar. I think that's fine. If you want to one-off Vrana, like, that's fine. I'd rather like one-off a min price guy than like one-off a chalk, Matthews, something like that. For me, it's gonna be Detroit 1. And then on the Arizona side, I don't know. Like, they're just overpriced. Like, they're more expensive than the Wings. So maybe like some Schmaltz Keller, but that's over 10K for the two of them. So I guess like if you're making some contrarian lineups and me, I'd have a little bit, but that's probably about it. Like Riley Nash centering the second line, like I just don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Arizona top line would be the only place I would look for some value here. Like, I'm not completely convinced that those lines will actually stay together. I saw a tweet earlier that there might be some changes coming to that Arizona second line anyway. I mean, it's just the top line that I would look at from the Yotes, and it's basically because I think Clayton Keller is like, he's a wonderful like playmaker, shooter, et cetera, et cetera. He's really starting to come into his own. He can help carry that line. It's not a bad matchup going into Detroit. Here's the thing. Arizona 1 has been like pretty bad for a while now. In their last 100 minutes, 41% of the shot share, 39% of the scoring chances. They're allowing 38 scoring chances against per 60 minutes. That line is getting just force fed. So yeah, like, I know why people are going to play the second line with Vrana, with how cheap he is, with how cheap Suter is. I'm still probably going to stick with the top line, Fabry, Larkin, Raymond. I think you'll find a power play stack, like add in a Bertuzzi if you want. We'll talk about more at Cedar. Add in Mo Cedar if you want. I think a power play stack is just fine here on the Detroit side. Like, Arizona's just flat out one of the worst defensive teams. Like, they seem to be turning it around just after Christmas, but the last 6 or 7 weeks it's just been a mess. So yeah, I do like Detroit 1. Detroit 2 is fine for a filler stack. I like Detroit 1 a lot here tonight. Nothing for me from the Arizona side. On the blue line, like Dyson Mayo, I think is starting to get too expensive. 3,700. That's not punt territory anymore from Arizona. Like Jacob Chikrin, I don't think he's that playable on FanDuel because FanDuel doesn't really value peripherals, and he's way too expensive on DraftKings at 6,100. I'd rather just pay up and go play Dougie Hamilton. So I maybe Shane Gostisbehere. Like, Detroit's not really a great defensive team on their own. So like, if you want to correlate a defense with your goalie or a lineup or something like, or Arizona lineup or something, I think Gostisbehere is fine. But him and Cedar are the only two I'm considering.
And Cedar's not cheap either. He's 6,400, which is like half of what the full top line is. So, like, yeah, you can put him in there. I think it's fine. You can also leave him off if, like, you don't have to play more at Cedar tonight. But I think he's perfectly fine with Detroit 1. That's really about it. Like, yeah, like Hronik's fine, but like, I don't know, 4,100. I'd rather him be in the low threes.
Yeah, if that's at 3,100, I'd be in consideration. I think it's just a little bit too expensive. All right, let's get to this next one. Ottawa, 2.3 implied goal total going to St. Louis. The Blues have a 3.8 implied goal total. This just feels like one of those spots where I'm going to play a lot of St. Louis, and Ottawa is going to come out and just tear their throats out. St. Louis has changed their lines around a bit. Jordan Kyrou was on the second line with Tarasenko and Robert Thomas. Top line of Perron, O'Reilly, and Barbashev. Third line of Buchnevich, Shen, and Saad. I think it really gives St. Louis 3 playable lines, especially considering this matchup. There's one line that I'm looking at in particular. Should also mention Connor Brown, a game time decision for Ottawa. If he's not playing, it looks like Tyler Ennis might jump in on the top line. What do you got? I mean, we were saying the other day, please at least put Tyler Ennis there if it's not Zach Sanford.
Yeah, but like,
yeah, the monkey paws curling real hard right now.
Please play Connor Brown. You're our only hope. I kind of want to play that top line if Connor Brown's there. Like, I'm not a big believer in Barbashev defensively. Like, O'Reilly and Perron, good defensively, and they muck up the pace, but like, I also don't believe in Bennington. So if Connor Brown does play, I don't mind that top line for Ottawa. No one's going to play them. Getting one of 20 or one of, a handful of 150 is fine. But this is a Blues game for me. I like that second line a lot. Kyrou, Thomas, Tarasenko. Again, like, they're expensive. And what's giving me a little bit of pause is the minutes allocated to the 3 lines. So if that's the case, like, if they're all going to play between 16 and 19 minutes, I'm probably just going to go to that third line. They're cheaper. That being said, like, there isn't much ownership on that second line, so I'm fine with the second line. They can get it done against Ottawa. Don't get me wrong. Like, I played Calgary 1 last night with them getting 17, 18 minutes around the same price. So I'm probably fine with St. Louis 2 here. It just depends how you want to build. Because St. Louis 2 is pretty much priced like a top line, and then St. Louis 3 is kind of like a filler. I know Buchnevich is a little pricey, but Saad and Shen are reasonable. So I'm fine with St. Louis 2, fine with St. Louis 3. Price and ownership out the window. It's St. Louis 2 for me. And nothing really on the Senators, but if Brown does play, I might take a stab on Ottawa 1 in MMA.
So I'll say I'm just going to bypass the St. Louis top line entirely. Like, if somebody wants to play them, go ahead. But they're coming in at like 10% and virtually the same projection as the third line. Like, our lineup builder has the top line coming in for 1.1 more points on DraftKings, but 4 times the ownership. Just play St. Louis 3. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. The first and third lines. It's the second line, I agree, that's drawing me here. Now, they've had some tough games. This is a line. Buchnevich is a better defensive player than Kyrou. So, like, when Buchnevich is there, their defensive numbers are much, much better. But the offensive numbers are still great with Jordan Kyrou there. Like, 3.0 expected goals for per 60 minutes, 35 scoring chances generated per 60 minutes. They are dynamite offensively. And the other thing is Kyrou and Thomas are both playing on that second power play unit. And we talk about it all the time. The second power play unit has been better than the top unit pretty much all season long. And it's the only line, it has 2 out of 3 on the top power play unit, as does the third line. So that's another reason why I wouldn't use the top line of O'Reilly, Perron, Barbashev. So for me, it's the second or third lines here. I'm probably going to play the second line. They're coming in with very low ownership. There are ice time concerns, but it's not as if like they're a 21K line either on DraftKings. Like, they're coming in under 19,000. It's not awful. And Kyrou, like I pointed out in the Power Plays article today, Jordan Kyrou is playing almost 19 minutes a game over his last 5 games. If that line can play anywhere as close to that, I will be very, very happy. So yeah, St. Louis too, at low ownership for me. I think, Ottawa 1 was probably fine here, whether it's Ennis or Brown, honestly. Like, maybe Ennis could step into that lineup right under the top power play unit, and that line could be perfectly correlated here. So I don't think you don't have to get there in single entry or anything like that. But once you get to 20 max 150s, I think you should be at least considering Ottawa. Don't have to play them by any stretch, but at least consider them in your lineups here tonight. On the blue line, same thing as always for me with St. Louis. I'll play Justin Falk in some lineups. I'll also play Jake Wallman here. Like, Jake Wallman is a defensive prospect that he's not really such a prospect anymore. He's a little bit older. He's a guy I've always wanted to get a shot. Like, I think he's a good offensive defenseman. And I think this is the type of matchup, maybe St. Louis gets out to like a 3 or 4-0 lead, and he ends up playing like 18, 19, 20 minutes as they rest their top defensive guys. So I think Wallman is fine as a punt here. On the Ottawa side, like, I think it's just our boy, the Zoob. And that's about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree on the Zoob. I'm glad he's back on that top pair. I guess I agree with you with Justin Falk if you're playing, St. Louis 2 or St. Louis 3. Parayko's kind of overpriced. I'd rather just save the 400 and play Falk. That's probably about it for me. Like, if you want a min price Wallman, go for it. But, I'd probably just play Zoob.
Yeah, my problem with Wallman is, like, I've written about him before for season-long fantasy hockey. I do think he has upside. And then I played him a couple weeks ago when he scored. So now I'll just never not be able to not play him. So please help me from Jake Wallman. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo. Sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your username after you played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $2,000 NHL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. All right, let's get to this next one. Dallas 2.7 implied goal total going into Nashville. They have a 2.9 implied goal total. Some changes here. Ryan Johansson on the top line for the Nashville Predators. Not expecting, the Dallas coach said no changes to their forwards, but also Miro Heiskanen not going to be playing. He's still sick for the Dallas Stars. So John Klingberg, he's been playing some pretty heavy minutes of late with Heiskanen out of the lineup. Not high totals here. Might be some goals. What do you think?
I mean, I like the Dallas top line here. Color me shocked. Like, yeah, Dallas has a 2.7 total, but like, they're kind of a 1.5 line team. Like, sometimes the second line does well.
It's like 2 goals are coming from the top line and 0.7 from the side line.
Yeah. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't know what Ryan Johansson moving up to the top. Like, Ryan Johansson and Mikael Granlund at this point might be the same player. Like, Ryan Johansson just might be a better finisher. Like, I don't know. Like, he's scored more goals. I don't know, man. Like, jeez. So I'm in on Dallas 1. Like, 7% is fine. Like, Robertson under 6K coming off back-to-back hat tricks. What are we doing here? Grandpa Joe down to 5,900. He was up in the high 7s for a while there. Like, in Rope 6,200. Like, this was a 22K line not too long ago. They're underpriced. UC Saros and the Preds, not a very good penalty kill. And whoa, baby, do they take a lot of penalties. So I do really like Dallas 1 here. That's really about it. Like, you want to go to that second line short as a filler. Like, okay. Like, I do really like Dennis Koreanov. I just don't like the minutes he gets. On the Predator side, you want to go to that top line. Like, You would think, Johansson moving up would be a big salary savings. It's really not. It's only $700. Like, that's how bad Granlund's been the past month. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to full stack here. Maybe I'd go like one off Duchesne or two-man Duchesne Forsberg, but that's really about it. Like, I think when push comes to shove on the Predator side, it may end up just being Yossi.
Yeah, big fan of Yossi here tonight. The top line with Ryan Johansson is a break-even line by scoring chances, which is actually a slight improvement over what the top line has been over the last 5 or 6 weeks, but that's still not very good. And I was looking at Dallas's line numbers on the road. Like, I was wondering, maybe they get hard matched on the road and struggle or something like that. They're controlling 60% of the scoring chances in their last 100 road minutes together, generating 38 scoring chances per 60 minutes. They're just rolling. And two things, Dallas, one of the teams that has generated the most power play time in the last 6 weeks. On the flip side, Nashville giving up amongst the most time shorthanded. So this is a fairly good power play spot for Dallas's top line. So they'll at least be in my mix consideration for one of my core stacks here tonight. Not saying I'm going to, slam them in, but I am strongly considering some Dallas one here tonight. On the Nashville side, nothing further forwards for me. On the blue line, John Klingberg on both sites, DraftKings or FanDuel, I think, considering the minutes he's going to play and considering this is a pretty good power play matchup, do like John Klingberg a lot in GPPs. Also, don't mind Roman Josi. Looks like I'm playing a fair bit of Roman Josi here tonight. Feels like if they're going to score some goals, he's going to get involved. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I do really like Josi. Like, I don't really build to fit in expensive defensemen, but I may make an exception for Mr. Josi tonight. If you can't get up to Klingberg, Essa Lindell, I think, is fine also at 3,200. But that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to your boys. New York Rangers, 2.8 implied goal total going into Minnesota. The Wild are sitting at a 3.2 implied goal total. Two bits of news here. One, Igor Shesterkin not starting. We're getting Alexander Georgiev in net for the Rangers. And two, with Jordan Greenway back on the third line, it reassembles one of the best checking lines in hockey to go out against that very good Rangers top line. I was looking at that third line's numbers. 12 scoring chances against per 60 minutes since Christmas. I think the league average is like 25. Like, they just don't allow anything. Pretty brutal matchup for the Rangers top line here. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, and they've been getting better at 5-on-5 with Lafreniere there, but I think it's a good time to pump the brakes on them a little bit tonight. You can still play Zabazja and Kreider for power play because the Wild penalty kill is not great. I just don't know if you want to spend 14-1 for the two of them on DraftKings on the road. Just food for thought. There are a lot cheaper, better spots with better 5-on-5 matchups than Rangers 1. They're going to get that checking line. So, adios amigos there. You go to the Rangers second line, they're probably going to get, Fiala, Gaudreau, Boldy. Not the best matchup for an already porous, 5-on-5 line there. So, for me, like, if you want to get contrarian MME, I think you power play stack the Rangers. You call it a day and you move on with the rest of your lineups. On the Wild side, there's a lot to like here. That top line is going to get the third line for the Rangers, which is a mess defensively. And listen, the Rangers play way different hockey with Georgiev and that. Maybe they play the same hockey. They just can't, Georgiev just can't stop the pucks like Igor can. So, yeah, I do like Minnesota 1 here. They're coming in around 6%. I think that's fine. You want to go to that second line. Fiala's prices come way down to 4,300 on DraftKings. He was around 6K not too long ago. Boldy's under 5K. He's on the top power play. They're going to get Strome, Panarin, and Hunt, which is a very good matchup for them. So I'm fine with them, too, as a filler. And I also think that checking line, the wings are min price here. And Joe Eriksson X 4,200 on the top power play. Like, the Rangers penalty kill is not good. The reason it looks good is because Igor is ridiculous. So I think Joe Eriksson makes for a very good one-off here tonight at 4,200. He's always in play at home because he gets the minute. He'll probably play 20 minutes tonight. but like this is a good power play matchup.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with you. With the Rangers, I wouldn't line stack the top line here. It would be a power play stack, and I'd probably focus on the second line. Like it would be Strome, Panarin plus Zibanejad, Strome, Panarin plus Kreider, something like that. Just because once you get down to the second line from Minnesota, the matchups do get a little bit easier than the top line. Still not great, and especially the Minnesota top line itself not great defensively. So I think if you're going to stack with the Rangers, you want to focus at least on the second line, and then if you want to expand to some power play stuff, that's fine. It's the Minnesota second line that I'm kind of focusing on here. They're controlling 57% of the scoring chances when they're on the ice together. That is just phenomenal. Kevin Fiala, one of the better value plays on DraftKings tonight, especially with Shesterkin not playing anymore. They're coming in a little bit over leveraged, but that's typically the case with a lot of cheap filler lines, especially ones at home. Like as long as you don't have, I'm not worried about a 6% filler line or something like that. So Minnesota 2 for me. If you want to get back on that Minnesota 1 horse, absolutely no problems there. I just think the way I'm building my lineups tonight, I'll probably have more Minnesota 2. On the blue line, with Dumba back, they're basically back to a 3 defenseman setup, Spurgeon on the power play, and then Brodin and Dumba eating a bunch of minutes. So I think correlating with Spurgeon is fine, playing 4,200. Dumba also just fine. On the Rangers side, obviously, if you're correlating on the power play, Adam Fox, he might even be fine as a one-off. Like he can get there without the top 6 really exploding. Don't mind Trouba either if you want to get some peripherals in. But honestly, I think it'd be the Minnesota defenseman I'm focusing on. What do you think?
Yeah, correlate with Spurgeon or one-off Dumba is for me. On the Rangers side, I don't know if I want to spend it for defenseman. Ryan Lindgren might be okay as a punt. He does blocks and shots, but that's really about it.
All right. Tampa Bay, 3.4 implied goal total. Going into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 2.6 implied goal total. Tampa Bay has changed up their lines. They've moved Anthony Cirelli to the top line. Depending on your lineup builders that you focus or that you go and visit, they might not be updated. But it is Anthony Cirelli on the top line. Andre Palat was moved down to the second line with Killorn and Stamkos. That makes the top line for Tampa Bay a double center setup. They might change those lines around, but honestly, we're not seeing much ownership on the Tampa Bay top line. And anytime I can get Nikita Kucherov at 2%, I don't care how big or small the slate is, I'm going to play him. So I really like Tampa 1 here tonight.
Yeah, same. And it doesn't matter if Winnipeg sends out that third line or the top line. It's both.
I don't care about matchups.
Yeah, it's advantageous for Tampa 1 here. Very low owned. They're very expensive on the road, but I don't care. Ownership is the reason I'm playing them. With Palat moving down to that second line and Palat, Killorn, Stamkos, and Stamkos having to center that line, I do like Winnipeg 2 here. Connor Dubois, Svechnikov, I think they're fine. You want to go to the flowchart boys. I think that's, not ideal, but there's no ownership on them. And sure, no. I like Winnipeg 2. Maybe some top Ehlers, but that's about it.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm doing anything but correlating for defensemen. What do you think?
Yeah, same. Although, Sergachev's been ridiculous lately, so I don't mind him as a one-off.
Yeah, he really has been ridiculous. Before we get too much further, if you guys could, please throw us that thumbs up, click that like, click the subscribe, and click the bell to get alerts when we do go live. And if you want to check out our Yahoo special, just click the link in the below this video for first-time Yahoo users. You can get some free money out of them for anybody playing over on Yahoo. We have added NHL props to our Oddsshopper page, so head on over to Oddsshopper.com. It's free for anybody to go view. If you're in a state with legal sports betting, DraftKings, PointsBet, MGM, FanDuel, Caesars, what have you, you can check out. You can shop your NHL props at Oddsshopper.com and go for the best price. I talked about Jacob Chikrin and his peripherals problem, but we have him scoring basically once every 5 games, and he's a plus 500 over on PointsBet. Not a bad bet over there. We talked about Kevin Fiala and his shot rate. His FanDuel over-unders at 2.5. We have him straight projected for 3.5 shots here tonight. Minus 140 on FanDuel. Not bad. So head on over to Oddsshopper.com and shop your odds if you want to play some NHL props. All right. Show's coming up after us, the No House Advantage NBA show at 3:30 Eastern with Aton and Terry. Then at 4:30 Eastern, our NBA prop betting show, Locks Before Lock, will come on, and they will be followed by the Deeper Dive and the Live Before Lock for NBA. All right, Josh, 2 games to get through. Anaheim, 2.9 implied goal total going into Chicago. Chicago has a 3.1 implied goal total. Not sure how the matchups are going to work here. I'm not sure the matchups really matter. I think this is a power play matchup, really for both sides, but especially for Chicago. The Anaheim penalty kill has really struggled. The top line for the Blackhawks features a lot of players on the top power play. DeBrincat, Strome, Kane, they're all on the top power play. Coming in with fairly high ownership, but I think, reasonable price, good power play matchup. I think it's fine to pay off. Don't mind Chicago 1. Also don't mind the Anaheim top line. Milano, Zegras, Raquel. Still a good line here. So both top lines for me in play. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also in on both top lines here. Like, chalk Blackhawks is always a problem for me. Just because, I'll tend to fade them. And, we always talk about, coming home after eating dinner and you see Kane hit the empty net for his 5th point of the night, just ending your night. But, the top line is perfectly fine. I'm in on both top lines. That's really about it, unless, Getzlaf suddenly comes back.
Yeah, that's the problem here is with Ryan Getzlaf out, I think it kind of weakens that Terry Comtois duo. I think they're still fine, but it's definitely not nearly as good as with Getzlaf there. On the blue line, we're making fun of Anaheim defensemen, so no. I think it's Seth Jones for nothing for me. Maybe Jake McCabe for a punt, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
All right, let's get to this last game. Washington, 2.8 implied goal total going into Calgary. The Flames have a 3.3 implied goal total. Calgary played last night. They stuck to their lines pretty much all game long, which means Adam Ruzicka base as the third line with Mangiapane and Toffoli and Trevor Lewis still on the second line. I don't know, man. Washington has been struggling defensively, but it's not as if Calgary has super playable lines. They just did play last night. Is there anything we're playing besides the Calgary top line here, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. Ruzicka only played 8 minutes, but I watched that game. There were so many power plays in that game. So I don't know. He'll probably play more. Toffoli and Mangiapane look good together. So if you want to go back to them as a filler tonight, I think that's fine. It's just not the best matchup. Washington's a pretty good defensive team. Their issues have been goaltending, and they've gotten a bit better. So I don't know. I'm probably going to go back to Calgary 1. Their ownership's fine. On the Capital side, I like Oshie. Just hasn't done much recently, and the Flames, this is just a tough matchup. So 2.8 total is nothing to ignore here, but there's just nothing I want to full stack.
Yeah, the top line hasn't been playing particularly great, and you could argue these are 2 of the better penalty kills in the entire league. So it's not Washington's struggling power play. It's not like it's a great matchup for them or anything. So yeah, I think it's just Calgary 1 that I like out of that game. All right, we got to get out of here. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick, he was in the Power Plays article. I'm playing him tonight. Jordan Kyrou. My goalies, Tristan Jarry, Marc-Andre Fleury, UC Saros, and King Carl Vejmelka from Arizona. Who you got?
I do like Vejmelka. If you're getting spicy there, I agree with all your goalie picks. There was another. If you are fading the Blues, Anton Forsberg is under 7K on DraftKings. He's probably going to see some volume. I think that's a spicy punt. And I'm going to go, it's probably going to be chalky, but Dylan Larkin.
Ooh, I like it. That's 2 guys out of the Power Plays article. So now a little bit of synergy here at Awesemo.com. All right, we're out of here. Lots of NBA coming up shortly after us. We will be back on Thursday. I do believe we're off tomorrow. We will be back on Thursday for producer Tyler, for our single entry assassin, Joshua Harris. I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.
Flowchart season.